As we continue our series this morning, as God prepares us for His purpose and preps us for the assignment He has for us, let us also not take this truth for granted. Jesus says, if any man serves me, say, let him follow me. You can't serve God better than you follow Jesus. And following Jesus is not just about a physical walk with God. No, it's also taking cue from this pattern. So if your pattern in life does not have Jesus as its influence, you cannot serve him. So we have studied the mind of Christ, a pattern, what makes men to fulfill the purpose of God on this side of eternity. Now we want to study the ministry of Jesus. How did the mind of Christ, how did the ministry of Jesus Christ that is committed into his hand, how did he midwife him to fulfilling the purpose and the mandate of God? If our ministry and our ministry does not follow that pattern we found in Jesus, whatever we do is fetching water in a basket. If Jesus as our standard in eternity is not the cue that we take our choices from in ministry, whatever we do that does not follow Jesus will not end well. Whatever people have, a lot of people they follow on Instagram in ministry. A lot of us follow people on Twitter, follow people on Instagram in ministry. Some of us follow people on Facebook. Some of us follow people on manners. And that's okay. But you see, whatever you follow that does not follow Jesus will not end you well. Whoever you follow that does not follow Jesus' pattern will not end you well. Every man will end where what they follow leads. Every man will end where what they follow leads. And it is dangerous to follow men in assumption that they are following Jesus. So our ministry must follow Jesus. If we follow Twitter, we can have likes and tweets. If we follow Instagram, we may have exposure. But if whatever we get there does not align with Jesus, no matter our investment into it, whatever does not follow Jesus will not end well. So what's Jesus' ministry pattern? Luke chapter 2 and verse 40. And the child grew and waxed strong in spirit, filled with wisdom, and the grace of God was upon him. Now his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the feast of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem after the cost of the feast. And when they had fulfilled the days, as they returned, the child Jesus tarried behind in Jerusalem. And Joseph and his mother knew not of it. But they, supposing him to have been in the company, went a day's journey. And they sought him among their kinsfolk and acquaintance. And when they found him not, they turned back again to Jerusalem, seeking him. And it came to pass that after 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the doctors, both hearing them and asking them questions. And all that heard him were astonished at his understanding and answers. And when they saw him, they were amazed. And his mother said unto him, Son, why hast thou thus dealt with us? Behold, thy father and I have sought thee sorrowing. And he said to them, How is it that ye sought me? Wist ye not that I must be about my father's business? And they understood not the saying which he spake unto them. And he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was subject unto them. But his mother kept all these things in her heart. And Jesus increased in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. The first pattern I want us to learn about Jesus' ministry was his personal growth. His personal growth. And the child grew. That's a statement that everyone that wants his ministry to be after Christ's ministry must adopt. Ministry does not begin with others. It begins with you. Whatever ministration that is not reflected in your growth is not going to be passed to others. The ministry begins with you, the minister. Jesus showed us that before I go around to do good, healing them that are oppressed of the sick and delivering those who are oppressed of the devil, ministry begins with the minister. Minister to yourself first. Be committed to personal growth. Either you are going to be a minister to children, or minister to brothers, or minister to sisters, whether you are going to be a minister as a mother, or minister as a father, or minister as an elder, or minister in any capacity you are going to minister, whatever does not affect you in ministry will be a waste of other people's time. Commit yourself to personal growth. The greatest problem we have in church today is that we have people full of ministry who have never ministered unto themselves, who have never committed themselves to their personal growth of the minister. That's why you see all manners of wreckages in the church today. That's why you see all manners of bastardization of the pattern of Jesus in church today. Because the people that are moving into the ministry, into the service of God today, do not follow Jesus as a pattern. They are not personally growing. They are reducing by the day in their personal development. How did Jesus grow? The child grew, he waxed strong in the spirit. The first evidence of growth of personal development is strength in the spirit. You are not growing because your birds are growing, or because you have to change your wardrobe because of new size. That's not personal growth. You are growing when your spiritual capacity is increasing, when your ability to understand the things of the spirit is enhanced. Those are symptoms that you are a grown person. You are a growing person. That's what makes you good enough to serve God in the context of purpose. Spiritually, you are stronger. You are getting stronger. Your spirit can pick God's signals. You can see things from the spiritual point of view. You can pick the mind of God at the slightest instinct of God. You can pick the voice of God despite the loudness of the noise around you. Your approach to things is less carnal and more spirit. Your tendencies are spiritual. Your persuasions are spiritual. The roots of your choices have spirits in it. You are spiritual in your choices, in your perception, in your inclinations. You are getting spiritual. Your language is getting spiritual. You speak spiritual language. The Bible says when he was speaking, his mother did not understand him. His priorities are spiritual. He doesn't just see life from this carnal prison. He doesn't just see life from this physical glasses. The man that is, the Bible says, filled with wisdom. The proof you are personally growing is that you are getting wiser. The things you used to do, Paul said, when I was a child, I spake as a child. wiser. See, one of the proofs you are getting wiser is not generally what you are looking like, is what you are casting off. Ability to do away with some things is the proof you are getting wiser. Wise men travel light. Wise men travel light. They dump childish things. They put away childish things. There are things that are only good for you, child. There are decisions that were only good for your past. There are priorities that are only good for your past. There are relationships that are only good for your past. And when you grow, you get wiser. Not by adding more things to your baggage, but casting off. Wise men travel light. If you are going to serve God well, get wiser. Get wiser in how you do things. Get wiser in what you commit yourself to. Get wiser in what you invest in. Get wiser in what you spend on. Bro, as you age in serving God, the things you put your money on must have endorsement in God's economy. The way you spend proves you are ready to serve God. Because your spendings are not impulse based, they are future driven. You spend for faith, not for fun. Your alignments and your alliances are so deliberate that it shows you are now making wise choices about your life. Your journeys are wise. You travel wise. Your steps are wise steps. If you are not getting wiser, you cannot be effective with God. If you still make the silly mistakes you made in the past, you are not headed for ministry. You are not going into fulfillment. Filled with wisdom, and the grace of God was upon him. Every man that is growing is graced. You cannot be growing and not be graced. If grace is not bearing influence upon you, you are not growing. Grace is a symptom of growth. But it rests on wise hearts and strong spirits. Men who have weakness of the spirit and foolishness of mind cannot enjoy grace. As you master your personal growth, it will reflect in certain things. Early in life, the early stage of Jesus' ministry is a critical stage of his future. There are things you must add to your foundation if you will not be missing in your future. If you don't learn some things early, when you get to your future and you don't know them, it will be a disadvantage to you. That's why this text begins with Jesus' ministry, public ministry. And if you are going to be patterned, you can't escape the principles there. Because at this early stage, God was conscious to document his early life. Whatever is there and is not in you cannot make you end where he ended. There is a reason God made it obvious that he was 12 years old when the documentary of his life started with God. His ministry. So what shows that Jesus is wise? First, Jesus was able to learn from customs. Jesus learned from customs. Galatians chapter 3, verse 23. Many of the reasons why people are not effective in the ministry is because God situates them in customs to teach them certain lessons. But they are so ignorant that they despise the same custom God wanted to use to prepare them for where God is taking them to. And because they despise those things, there is a vacuum that is so large in their hearts. There is a vacuum that is so wide in their lives that by the time they got to the stage of service, it was obvious they came without a learning. Galatians chapter 3, verse 24. The law was our schoolmaster to bring us to Christ, that we might be justified. Verse 23. Verse 23, the previous verse. But before faith came, we were kept under the law, shut up unto the faith we should afterward be revealed. There are places God keeps men for what is coming. There are places God shuts men. And you see, if you are not familiar with God shutting you into certain things, He will never show you for certain people. It is men that God shuts, that God shows. The Bible says John was in the wilderness. He was shut in the wilderness until the day of his showing forth unto Israel. If you escape custodies of God, if you escape, they call it correctional custody. If you escape the custody of where God wants you to learn certain things and you daybreak, there are places God will never show you. If you are not fully developed in where men are kept, every man that God showcases were kept. Go and check the history of men that God showcases. They were always kept. So, are you jailbreaking? Whatever custom, whatever culture, God has kept you. God keeps you unto the faith that should be revealed. It's a schoolmaster. Maybe you don't understand what it means to have a schoolmaster, because many of us went and called your uncle and your teacher uncle. I will call my teacher uncle. In fact, we call them master. I think they still do it in public school now. Abi, what do they call you? Master. So you understand what that means? Master. Master. That was where God kept Jesus. Schoolmasters were stronger than our fathers in those days. It is the spoilt generation that the teacher will beat a child and he will go and call his mommy to come and beat the teacher. Those children, they eventually grow up to be a nuisance to the community. Those children eventually grow up to become disasters in church. But the children that were kept under schoolmaster, they were preserved for the faith to be preserved, to be released, to be revealed. Go and chase those children that their teacher dealt with. When they grow up, I saw one of my teachers in Bodija recently, sometimes like 4 months ago. It was raining. That was the man that taught me about timing. I was a timekeeper in SS1. So I must beat the drum and ring the bell for morning assembly, change of lessons, break time, closing time, emergency. There is a way we ring it when it is emergency and you wanted the whole school to converge. There is a way you change your lesson, morning assembly. This man will always be in school about 6:30 a.m. Mr. Ayemi. We call him Rod. Fit me. His cane, he has 3 types of cane. You have bouncing cane. You have leopard. There is a cane he will soak in water overnight. So it will be wet. He has an handkerchief that he will use to beat you with that cane. Because of the water on the cane, he sanctifies them by the washing of the water, by the word. If they are beating you with cane that is soaked overnight in water before, you will know the effects of the schoolmaster. Those who ran there, they never kept time. If I miss the period for 1 second, every second is 1 minute. So at a point, I put the clock in front of my table like this. To watch it. And when I grew up, it was preserving me for the faith. The first greatest lesson I learned about life was timing. Timing. So when I saw him, he was in the rain. He was at the bus stop at Ayo-Oluwa Junction. But because he's tall, I said, this is my teacher. So I parked. When I parked, people rushed my car. I said, sorry, please. I'm not waiting for you. And I came down in the rain. I said, sir, I stopped for you. He said, for me? He, of course, couldn't recognize me again. I said, it's for you, sir. He said, okay. So I told him to come into the car. When we enter into the car, he said, I'm sorry, I can't be wrong. You tell him, sir. I'm not your sir. I'm your student. I was the first time keeper in SS1 in my school that time. He said, do you remember me? You used to beat me for every second I was late. I said, thank you, sir, for such drilling. It has helped me in life. My teacher was crying in the car because I began to appreciate him. He cried. I had to take him to where he was going. This was a terrible man. Terrible man. Terrible man. I hated him. Like devil. He would say, Emilio lo ti jẹ gba leni. I said, sir, ó ti di mẹ́fà. He said, ó ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ bẹ̀rẹ̀ ni. He said, do you know, when he was getting down, he said, do you know I left service? He's retired now. He said, do you know I left service? Sad. But a few months ago, when I began to meet people like you, he said, well, the other time I entered into the bank, and everything I wanted to do, one of my students did it for me, and even gave me double what I went to withdraw. See, now it reminded me that, do you remember what you used to do? It was our geography teacher. If you don't know how to draw the map of Nigeria, there will be map on your head. Mr. Miami was a schoolmaster. Recently, my brother was telling that his sets, home and abroad, generated millions of naira for him to go and give it to him. Of all the teachers we went through, you were the one that kept us. The customs God is keeping you in. If you break the jail, there are things you will not be preserved for. Jesus, the Bible says, when he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem after the custom. After the custom. Whatever God is using to keep you now, keep yourself there. There are things God uses as schoolmaster. Some of you are under very strict uncles, very strict teachers, very strict. You can't tell me my children did something wrong in the school and I will go and fight the teacher. God forbid. The reason why maggots come out of many children today is because their parents refuse to keep them under school. I will rather beg my teacher not to tell my parents. Because if my mommy should hear that I'm the one disturbing the class, and my teacher tells me, one day one of my teachers said that we were looking at her somehow. Looking. I was in primary 5. She was pregnant. And she said each time she entered the class, we will be looking at her somehow. They took us to the egg mistress. They said we are witches and wizards. They said she dreamt of me. And I was looking at her somehow in her dream. That they should go and bring our parents. What I faced in my life. My mom said, you don't have any other place to put your eyes except the stomach of your teacher. But my mommy asked, did you what out? He said, I'm just looking. He said, there is no other place to put your eyes than the stomach of your teacher. I fasted for 7 days for looking at the stomach of my teacher. If you are the mother and your son was reported to be looking at the stomach of the teacher, what will you do? You will wear your jeans and go to the school. Say, my child is not a witch. My mom knew I was not a witch, but I must not fall to the wrong side of record. So from that day, that's how I became shy. I don't look people in the eyes because I remember the fast. If you have fasted for 7 days before at primary 5, you will not forget. Where is God keeping you? All those customs, church customs, workers' customs, fellowshipping customs that God is using to prepare you for the future. You cannot be found if you are missing in custom. You will be lost if you are not kept in those customs. May the Lord bless the reading of His word. May the Lord keep us. May the Lord pattern our lives after the ministry of Jesus. Have a blessed week.